Hello, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depends where you are. Welcome to the Ask Ken Show. I am Kevin, your host, and beside me there, all the way from Bali, Indonesia, we have Mr. Ken Lewicki. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm fabulous. Welcome everyone to the Ask Ken show. It's going to be a fabulous show today. I know we got I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. We're going to be doing some really cool channeling, and the way that it works is what you do is you ask your questions, and then I'm going to live channel the answers. So anything on spiritual topics, anything goes, or anything about me, I guess I could go as well. That's fair game. We don't answer personal questions. I'm not doing like readings. This isn't one of those kind of shows. At this time, I do have other events where we do stuff like that, but not this one. And Kevin, how's it going today? You excited for a good evening, good day?
I am. People are tuning in. As you're tuning in, please go to your chat. Doesn't matter where you are. We hopefully will see it. And let us know where you're tuning in from, and we can say hi. Also, if you have any questions, that's where you type them in. Just type the questions into the chat, and I will get Ken to answer it. I'm going to apologize. Anybody that follows me on Cavelli Channeling or my personal page knows that I caught COVID again, and it's really affected my voice. Thank goodness I had these new drugs that have really kicked it in the butt. So I'm hoping my voice doesn't crack and I don't sound like a teenager going through puberty, but I might. So fair warning. And I might cough a little bit.
Yeah.
How is Belly? We haven't even chatted. We usually Ken logs on a little earlier. We get to chat a little bit and get caught up. How is Belly,
Yes,
Mr.
for
Ken?
those of you that are wondering, I'm broadcasting from Bali, Indonesia, which is great. It's a great place to be. The people here are just the kindest, gentlest, beautiful souls I've ever met in my life. Like all
Nice.
the all the locals are just wonderful. Like so, you know, just grateful and generous, and oh yeah, nothing really seems to
Now I,
bother. How do they do this? They like nothing bothers them. Like they're just so amazing. It's so great.
it's such a different society than what the North Americans are used to, where
Yeah.
everything is like, oh my god. There, it's just like, oh my
This
god.
this American lady and I, we were chatting the other day, 2 days ago, and we were talking about how, us in North America, like, or Western society, every little thing bothers us, and then we get upset about this person and about that thing and this thing and that thing. And then, so we came up with a new term. We call, if something upsets us, just Balinese it. Just Balinese it. Let it go.
Just
Like,
Balinese it. Let it go. That's
we look
awesome.
at Balinese and that like nothing seems to bother them. They're just like, meh, whatever. And I'm like, wow, like this is impressive. Like, yeah, they're just like next level people. So it's pretty
Now,
impressive.
are you doing a lot of spiritual stuff? I've been following your Facebook, obviously, and I
Yeah,
see
all
your
online, just my regular everything to do with what I've been doing before. I'm doing the same thing, nothing more, nothing
awesome.
different, just the same thing. I'm still, doing my online channeling workshops, my certification workshops, my intro classes, intro animal communication, and my intro channeling workshops, and then of course the Ask Ken show, which is great, and
Which
that's
is
what I'm.
his favorite because he gets to host with me. Just saying.
Yes, yes, because I get to
Just
see the handsome Kevin at Cavalli Channeling. By the way, his business is Cavalli Channeling. He does really cool stuff in readings there. So check him out.
thanks, buddy. Thanks, buddy. Um, so Belly, I'm going to jump right in here, and I'm going to ask a question about Belly because obviously I've never been to Belly. Belly is known as a spiritual capital, or a spiritual center. How does Belly differ from, let's say, Canmore?
Well, from like even any Canadian city or North American city,
Yeah,
US city, what's different about it is that it's really cool because in Bali, they're like I went to go see a traditional Balinese healer, and we start, and we're like I'm just sitting there in this room, and it's way out of town in the middle of nowhere in this village or something, and this holy man, he's about to start a session, and he starts like doing a preparation and he's calling in these things. I'm like, whoa, what are these? And I'm checking with my spirit guides and I'm like, okay, they're fine. They're over the light. They're good. But they're so foreign to me. I've never experienced this, Kevin. Like there's two souls and one being. So two souls, like different kinds of souls that they were like really unique and like definitely different than I've ever experienced. And then one being, I'm like, whoa, what is this thing? Like it was crazy cool. So I'm like,
That's awesome.
yeah, but like, and I was like, just like, whoa. And I was checking with my guides, and it was the neatest thing ever, like so foreign to me and like Western society. Anywhere I've been in the West, it was really neat. And yeah, it was a very magical session. I've done a few already, and I just love it. So it's
That's cool. It's so
yeah,
cool to experience something so different in a field where you are teaching people, and yet now you're somewhere where they can actually teach you.
yeah. And also like, so I'm learning, but then the holy man afterwards, he's like, oh, can I get a reading? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I was giving him, and
Nice.
he could barely speak any English, but I was tuned right into him and it was pretty cool. So it was very symbiotic and
And as you've said many times, spirituality has no boundaries.
that's right.
Doesn't matter you're
Yeah.
black, white, green, purple, or pink. Spirituality has no boundaries. That's so cool, Ken. I'm glad you're experiencing this. So, again, we've got all kinds of people that have just tuned in. If you're tuning in, please, please, please type in where you're from and we'll say hello. Of course, Natasha Willoughby. She doesn't need to tell me where she's from because she's from just down the road from me in beautiful Airdrie, Alberta. She
Just
just
outside of
wants to
Calgary.
say, hey, you two.
Hey, Natasha, great to see you and hear from you. Woo-hoo.
So let's start with some questions that we had come in offline. One of them is a real cool question because I did a session this morning and this kind of came up. How can my spirit guides help me?
In so many ways, like this is the fundamentals of why I do what I do. So I teach people how to channel for a living. This is and there's a whole section that I do in channeling level one, my certification program, where I actually go through a whole section where I have my students brainstorm all the benefits of why they should channel their spirit guides and what they get out of it, like themselves, and why you should channel your spirit guides. So your spirit guides, just to go over it, they're people like you and I in non-physical form, and they're members of your soul family. So while you're incarnated, certain members of your soul family will help and assist you. And my experience has been that most people have somewhere between 3 to 5 spirit guides during any one season of their life. Some have 2, some have 6, but in general, it's that 3 to 5 range. And each guide helps us with a different area of our life. So what most people do that are either not spiritual or don't know how to tune into their guides, spirit guides fully, is they kind of just wander through life and kind of think that okay, if I go in this direction then that's okay, I guess, for a while, and then I'm going to go in this other direction. But they're kind of, for the most part, wandering aimlessly, and that's how I used to be before I had my spiritual awakening. And then what I do though is, when you can learn to channel and tune into your spirit guides very specifically, very detailed, they can give you very specific guidance. And because they operate from that higher level in the ashram, they have that overall aerial kind of view, and they can see how all the pieces of the universe are kind of moving in your favor, and when to act in a way that's going to be in alignment to put you on a trajectory that's in your highest and greatest good, so that you can optimize your life and make the most out of it. And a lot of people, they come to my channeling workshops because they want to learn about spirituality and channeling. They think it's just going to help with that one area of their life, but actually learning to channel helps you with everything, because you have spirit guides that help you with your relationships, your finances, your career path, your hobbies, your passions, your purpose, your health, and I could go on and on and on. Basically, any and every area you could think of. Even where to go eat, or who to you get that inkling, like, oh, I should message this person or talk to this person or something like that. Or you see somebody at an event or down the street or something like that, and then you're like, you know what, I need to talk to that person, and then it opens up a whole bunch of doors and opportunities that you otherwise would have missed. And like, I could take one area, for example, like health. Let's say I have like stomach problems, and here in Bali, there's amazing healers. So I got very clearly that, oh, there's this place next door, and I keep seeing this chronic pranic healing kind of, and I'm familiar with pranic healers. Have a lot of them have taken my workshops and my channeling workshops and stuff. So I'm like, oh, I need to go see this like Balinese healer that does this pranic healing. So he did that, and he did acupuncture, which led to another guy who does stomach massage, but it's not just pushing on your stomach. He's doing all this like extracting energy, really cool stuff. But that's where one thing leads to another, and that's where your guides can help you to follow the path, follow where you're being guided in all the areas of your life. And that's just health. And I could go on and on and on about all the different areas. So there's a massive advantage of actually taking time to like attend some formal training where you actually get formally trained on how to channel at really high levels. So rather than just kind of feeling a presence and like, oh, I know they're always with me. Yeah, but what are they saying? How are they trying to guide you? How are they trying to like improve your life and set you on a path that's even better than the one you're on, which I'm sure the one you're on is probably pretty good overall, but can you make some tweaks in those different areas of your life? And sometimes they're not just little tweaks. Sometimes they can help you to make massive like trajectory changes.
Massive, massive.
Massive, but rather than just guessing, like massive changes that you feel confident about at later stages when you know which guide you're communicating with and how they're here to guide you.
That makes total sense. A
Yeah.
few more shout outs. Shelley Walzer says, hi, gentlemen.
Hi, Shelley.
Pamela Kujala says hi from beautiful downtown I'm saying downtown Calgary. I don't know if Pamela lives in downtown Calgary. I don't know where that came from.
Somewhere in Calgary.
And my favorite listener of all, Allison Jones.
Oh.
She has a question, and she's from all the way downstairs.
Kevin's beautiful, awesome girlfriend. She's amazing. I love that girl.
When they say better half, she's my way better half. Anyway, she has a question that says, would you be able to explain about animal soul family connections to our soul families?
Yes. Okay, this is a bit of a complex question, and I'm going to channel this live. So, what happens is when we die and we cross over, we go to the astral realm to be with our soul family. While we're here and incarnated, certain members of those soul family help and assist us. Those are our spirit guides. But our soul family, we don't have to wait till we die before we meet our soul family. We can actually go and visit them. And that's one of the exercises I do in my channeling level 2 workshop, where I actually have my students go and visit meet their soul family, because you don't have to wait. Now, just to clarify, your soul family is different than your earth family. So for example, your earth family might be like your brother, sister, mom, dad, aunts, uncle, stuff like that. Some of them might be members of your soul family, but some of them might not. It's not good or bad, right or wrong. It's different kind of connection, different kind of soul relationship that you guys have. So with animals, I do teach animal communication. I do full certification workshops on how to be a certified animal healer and communicator. And when animals, like let's say, for example, you have, a few pets. Sometimes those pets can be part of the same animal soul family, but sometimes they're not. And if you can notice the ones that do, because they have a really cool connection between them. Now, like even if they're not members of the same animal soul family, it doesn't mean they can't get along and play and have fun and all that. But you can definitely tell the difference when two animals are part of the same soul family. Just like you can tell when two humans are part of the same soul family. Like there's a different kind of connection. It's a much deeper level. So the question is how are soul families, like human soul families and animal soul families, can there be some crossover? The answer is yes. So for example, and this is different than having a pet in a past lifetime. You can have a pet in a past lifetime, but they're not connected to your soul family. Whereas if you do have a pet and you do have a connection to your soul family, so there's like that crossover. So the animals have their soul family, and then you have your soul family, and then there could be some crossover between where your soul families are linked from the astral realm and the animal spirit realm. And then you can tell, because if you get a pet and you have this major soul connection, it's just like unreal. And Allison, for example, she'll be like, yeah, like I'm in the room right now with Kevin and this dog that they have. As soon as I leave, they'll just, instead of staying with Kevin, the dog will follow me everywhere I go.
Everywhere she goes, this
Everywhere she
puppy
goes.
follows her. It's
And that's
insane.
that doesn't guarantee that she's a member, but I can check psychically. And Allison's also taking my channeling workshop. She's checked as well. So that's the neat thing. And then whereas Kevin, there's another dog, and that one like is always around Kevin and all that. So that's this, and I, again, I'm not guessing, I'm checking. That's where they have a really cool soul family connection amongst themselves. And in both their cases, they've had past lives together with those pets, but in different past
Yes.
lives as well.
I
In that case, again, that's not a guarantee. You don't have to have past lives, but in this case, they both do. You go ahead, Kevin.
I totally like. There's just such a bond between myself and Bella, where it's just unexplainable. It's beautiful. She gives me hugs, and when she gives you a hug, the warmth, the just the pure love that is exchanged is insane. Insane.
Yeah,
I've had lots of other dogs, and I love them all. This one's just different. It's
it's
just,
almost as
and
good
you
as my
know,
hugs. Almost. No, she
not
gives
even close.
way more unconditional hugs than me.
You're like
And
way down the list there, buddy.
I've literally seen the way Bella, your dog, hugs you, and it's like, wow, like
It's
it's a
it's
human hug
insane.
in
It's
deeper. Yeah,
undescribable. You have to feel what we feel when we do it. So
yeah,
thanks, Ellie. That was a great question. Super, super. I'm going to jump back here and go back to spirit guides. Um, and should I ask my spirit guide questions, or should I just let them give me answers?
yeah. The answer is both. And here's a couple of techniques that I suggest to my students is two things. So one thing is sometimes people they can become like almost like over obsessed where they try to control the situation. They're constantly saying they're trying to control the conversation. They're like, well, tell me about this and tell me about that and tell me about this and I want to know about this, I want to know about that. And almost to the extreme where it's like they're not giving any room for the spirit guide to maneuver the conversation in a way that might be best for them. So what I do suggest is two things. The first way I suggest you connect and channel your spirit guides is on a regular basis. I do suggest like morning time before you go to work or before you start your day, take like 2 minutes or even 5 minutes and just sit somewhere quiet. Sit on a bed, a couch, a chair, wherever it is, and just sit somewhere quiet and invite whichever spirit guide wants to come in. So you're not directing anything here, you're just allowing them. So again, we have 3 to 5 guides that you have 3 to 5 guides, and you just say, okay, whichever one of you would like to come in, you're welcome to come in. And then you allow that one to come in, and then you feel around you. Oh, where is this guy? Oh, it's right here. And then you lock in on them because that gives you a focus. So back when I started in 2004, they didn't have the technology that they have now. Now we could literally capture your spirit guides on camera. And so wherever you're focusing, that's where they are physically. And if we had those highly sensitive camera systems in your room, we could actually capture them on camera, which is really wild, really cool. So you focus your mind on and your soul on where your spirit guide is, and it allows you to have a more accurate exchange of information between you and your spirit guide. And then the magical question, if you're watching this, you might want to take note. You ask your guide, would like to tell me, I'm open to anything and everything.
Nice.
Whatever you would like to tell me, I'm open to anything and everything. So you're not directing the conversations. You're not forcing it to be whatever you want it to be. You're just like, and the reason why I suggest this for my students is because now remember your spirit guides, they operate from the astral realm and they know what you need to hear the most. They know, which of the guides needs to come in first, which is priority, what area of your life you need guidance or direction on, which might be different than what you think you need. You might be struggling with stress. And so you're like, oh, I'm stressing about work. So tell me about work. Tell me about work. But then reality is another guide comes in. It's your health guide comes in and wants to help you instead of your career guide coming in. Your health guide comes in and says, oh, we want you to do more self-care, more nature walks, more, taking a bath once in a while, watch some comedy, all these de-stressing kinds of things. And you're like, oh, well, I wasn't expecting that to come in. I thought I was going to get, stuff with my career guide, but that's what you need the most. And your spirit guides know this because they have that overhead kind of view on it. So that's one way. It's just sit somewhere for a few minutes and let whichever spirit guide wants to come in and whatever information they want to tell you. The other way I also suggest you channel your spirit guides is like make time for them. Like literally, like um, as you're going and you're living your everyday life. Yeah, if feel their presence and they want to get your attention, that's great. Go somewhere quiet, get the information. But also like purposely spend like a 5-10 minutes every day, maybe several times a day, to sit down, quiet your mind, invite one guy to come in. Maybe you want to know about this relationship situation. It could be intimate, but it could also be like family, friends, children, and so it could be any kind of relationship. So you want to know more about that, so you call your guide in, your relationship guide in, to help you with guidance on that area of your life. And then maybe another time, another day, oh, I want to know about this other area of my life. I want to know about my passions or purpose. So you call that guide in, and you get information about that. So both are welcome. Both are great ways to do it.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And that's something I need to do more of, is take the time and just let them um, give me the information that I need at that time, which I don't
Yeah, and
do
it's
all the
great.
time.
So many people have such busy lives, and again, what they're doing is they're just kind of like, oh, I don't know, I'm just going to go here, go there, and they kind of just go random direction. But if you
Yeah.
spend a few moments every day and ask whichever guide you want to come in, to say, okay, am I on the right path in this area of my life? Is there any suggestions or corrections or different directions you suggest I take? Taking that 2 minutes or 5 minutes can really make a lifelong difference in several years from now. But if you do it on a regular basis, you're constantly getting that course correction along the way. So it's worth it for sure. Thank you, Kevin, for sharing that.
That's awesome. Karen Eckford tuning in from Calgary, Alberta. And this is a great question, because I get this a lot in a lot of my sessions with other practitioners, is I do this, but I get nothing. So I guess the question is, if we do this and get nothing, like absolutely we're not picking up anything, what's the best way to reset?
Yeah. Well, there's a couple things it could be. One is a lot of people, they get nudges or they get inspiration from their spirit guides, and it's kind of just sporadic or random. But with formal training, and what I do in my workshops is I teach people how to do it intentionally, on purpose, and get very detailed, specific information, rather than, you know, and I get what Karen is getting at, because when in my early days of my spiritual awakening, I would try this. I would just sit down and I wouldn't get anything, because I was so like, I don't know, whatever reason, there's lots of different reasons. Um, and then I'd be really frustrated. But then as I developed the curriculum, now what I do is I teach my students how you can get something pretty much every single time, like all the time. And that's what I specialize in. And that's why I do recommend formal training. The other thing that it could also be is, it could also be that there's like some blocks in the person, that they need some clearing so that they can clear those channels. It could be that they need some attunements or need an activation of spiritual upgrades to help them channel at higher levels, so that they can get that. You all have spirit guides. Every one of you watching right now, guaranteed you have spirit guides, and they are trying to connect with you. They are trying to get your attention. They are trying to give you guidance. It's just, can we hear them over the noise? Can we hear them over the blocks that we have? And so some people do actually need some like pretty hardcore clearing, but some people are ready to go, and they just don't realize that that's what it is. But with formal training, they can get that. um, they can like know how to discern between their own thoughts and what's coming from their spirit guides. And then your question, Kevin, is how to reset.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that could be a number of different ways. Oftentimes, our mind is super busy, and it's really hard to hear them over our busy mind. So I do recommend things like meditation, self care. Maybe they need to just go do something completely different for a while and then come back and try again. Sometimes, what a little trick that you can do, again, if any of you are watching and you're taking notes, I do recommend writing this down, is sometimes you can ask your question to your spirit guides just before you go to bed, and then it's in that dream state or that REM state, sleep state, they can connect with you sometimes a little bit easier. And then oftentimes overnight or throughout the evening, those answers will come to you, or in the morning. So that's another way to do it. But ideally, I want to get all my students to the point where they can get the answers, channel it anywhere, anytime, on the spot, in the moment. So they're not having to be a big, long process. And there's a technique that I teach my students called fast channeling, where they can get the answers pretty much instantly really quick, really fast in the moment, because you don't want it to be a big, long, drawn out process where it takes weeks or days to get the answers, which I get it. I used to be there. So yeah, great question. Great question.
Cool. Lisa von Kresinski. I apologize, Lisa. I'm sure I screwed that up. From
Alexa.
Calgary's just saying hi. We have a comment from a YouTube listener. Does meditation every day help to gain relationships with our guides?
Inadvertently, yes, not directly. So why I recommend meditation, and so let me clarify on meditation, because there's a gazillion different types of meditation. I do like the other forms of meditation, chanting meditation, drumming meditation, walking meditation, and on and on and on, guided meditations. They're all fine. What I do recommend though for meditation for my students is what I call like silent meditation, where it's just complete silence. So you don't do anything. There's no and the goal of, well, if there was a goal with silent meditation, it's to quiet your mind. So think of it like your mind is like, think of it if you're on a lake and the ripples on the pond, the lake is all like splashing everywhere and crashing everywhere. Well, your spirit guides are trying to get information to you, and it's hard for you to hear them over all that noise in your mind, all that crashing. The other example that I like to use is, imagine, like, you remember those old TV sets, Kevin, that there was like the white noise and they go psh,
Yes.
and you'd be like,
They're
man,
they're
station five coming.
here.
And if your mind is like all that that noise, well, your spirit guides are trying to get that information to you, but you can't receive it, because of all the noise in your mind. So if you do meditation, and again, silent meditation, where you work on calming that noise, calming that monkey mind, calming that, the ripples, the crashing waves, so that the water, if you're on the lake, imagine the lake being just super smooth and calm and relaxed. And from there, it's a lot easier for your guides to connect with you, communicate with you. And it's not them, it's you. But you make
Yes.
it easier and more conducive for them. And then from there, you can build a stronger relationship, because it's easier to have a back and forth two-way interaction. And I say, instead of saying the word conversation, it's not necessarily conversing through like words in your mind back and forth with them, which you can, but there's many different ways you can converse back and forth with them. The different clairs, they can be giving you visuals, they can be giving you smells or tastes, they can be
Us.
giving you clairsentient, yeah, so emotions, where you feel their emotions. That's also a form of them communicating to you. And there's messages in those emotions. What's the message and the why they're giving you this feeling, and how does it apply to you in your life right now? And when you're in a nice, calm, meditative state, you don't have to be meditating to do it, but the calmer your mind is, then the easier it is for them to communicate with you. And I want to mention one thing really important, is that by on a regular basis and learning to calm your mind, then when you're not in a meditative state, because your mind is way calmer in general overall, it's a lot easier for them to get those messages to you, for you to,
Yes.
or let me say it another way, it's a lot easier for you to receive the messages from them, is another better way to
Yes.
say it.
And it's all about us receiving it. I find it's people are always like, my guides aren't there, and I'm like, your guides are there. It's like an old. I always explain it as an old radio station, and you just got to tune the dials a little bit to get them right on that right, or else it goes. Woo. Staying on this topic, because it's a very common topic, I think people refer to themselves as having blocks. I'm blocked. I can't communicate with my mother. I can't communicate with my father. My guides are blocked. First, what's a block? Second, are you able to remove blocks easily?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked this question, because it's so relevant to the previous questions. This question is perfect
Yes.
timing. A lot of people think that like a block is like a complete block, and that's not necessarily the case that I found. So in my workshops, I teach something called medical mediumship, where you can scan the person, and we actually practice this in the class and all that. And you can scan the person and find what's going on with them, not just physically, but also spiritually as well. And oftentimes, when I have a client in my one-on-one sessions, or even in a group, I can scan them and I can notice if there's a block. and then I can clear it or whatever. But oftentimes it's not a complete block. And what I mean by this, the analogy that I use is, imagine like plumbing. Okay, so there's like, it's the drain is backing up, but it's, and then it might drain partially after a while. Eventually it'll drain. Um, so that's like a partial block. But don't get me wrong. There are times when it's completely blocked and there's no water flowing. It's not going to move through, and it's just building up and building, and like it's completely blocked. But a lot of times when people have a block, it's a partial block almost all the time. And so through spiritual healing and clearing, we can clear that block. We can clear that, or maybe the channel is small, and then through spiritual upgrades we can upgrade it and make it larger so it can handle more capacity, because that also can be like something that, so as we go along in our spiritual journey, we should, or it helps to get spiritual upgrades along the way, because we are growing and evolving, and our different aspects are growing and evolving. But sometimes some things get left behind, and a great example of this is, let's say, for example, you're grounding. So grounding, there's two different ways that people can ground. One is through their root chakra, where a cord comes out of the root chakra, goes deep, deep, deep down into the earth, and then you wrap it around the core, center of the earth, and make it nice and taut. That's one way. Another way that we ground is through our feet. So imagine roots coming out of our feet. So I've noticed with some of my clients, once in a while, I'll come across somebody where they actually have a block with grounding. They're not able to ground. So then what I can do is I can release that block so that the energy can flow to the ground. Or what can happen is they actually don't have the capacity to ground to their fullest. So like, let's say the tentacles coming out of their feet are just sort of there. But what I can do with spiritual healing is I can make them fully, those tentacles, so they go deep, deep down into the earth. Those roots, like they can go really deep. Or with the cord on their root chakra, sometimes that's damaged or just not working as at its optimal pace, optimal rate. So then I can heal that part of it so they can ground properly. And then from there, sometimes what'll happen is, let's say I meet with them, 2 years ago, and I'm working with them, and they're doing all these major spiritual upgrades, and then all their other systems are being upgraded, enhancing and evolving, but their grounding is lacking. So then what I can do is go, oh, wait, your grounding needs an enhancement or an upgrade so it has more capacity to ground to keep up with where you're at. So I upgrade their grounding. It's down here. I upgrade their grounding to here, and then they're good for a while, maybe a few months or a few years, and then they go, their other systems are evolving, and then I'm like, oh, now you need another grounding upgrade. So then they get that grounding upgrade, and then they're good for another few months or few years. And that's not just with your grounding. It could be with a lot of different aspects and components that make you up as a human that are non-physical.
Is that something we should always have somebody help us with, or can we remove blocks ourselves?
I always encourage my students, if you have any healing modalities or any kind of healing training, please do self-healing. I highly
Yes.
recommend that. I want my students to be empowered. Like if they've taken healing training, please do healing on yourself. Self-healing is so critical. I do it like pretty much on a daily basis. I do Reiki and other like Akashic Records work and other kind of healings, all sorts of different kinds on a weekly basis, because I know I need it. And I also recommend too that you go to a practitioner, a professional or healer that knows what they're doing, because they can see things that you may not from their perspective, and may be able to help you because you're kind of too close to whatever's going on in your life. Or the
Yeah.
other reason I recommend this is because they may have abilities that you may not have at this time. So they may be able to help you in a way, in a capacity that you may not be able to do on yourself at this time. And I keep saying the word at this time, because with training and other spiritual upgrades, you can eventually get those abilities as well. So yeah, but I do recommend definitely do self-healing. Please, please, please do. I want my students to feel empowered, rather than giving all their power away and thinking that, oh, I can't do anything. I'm helpless.
I'm
No, no,
blocked.
or I'm blocked or whatever. Yeah. And
I'm
don't get me wrong
blocked.
though. So the trick is being able to discern, well, when can I do my self-clearing, self-healing, or when do I need to see someone else? And I recommend like try it on yourself first, see what you can do. And if you still feel like you need a tune-up or a healing session, then book it with a practitioner.
And if you're not sure who to go to, if you're not sure who you're comfortable, or if you don't know somebody, ask. Oh, there's always people that I will recommend for certain people. I'll recommend Ken. Some people go to Ken. I'll recommend other people go to Natasha. I'll recommend other people go to Alana. There's all kinds of people that are no. It's not one fits all. Not Ken can't heal everybody.
Yeah.
Natasha can't heal everybody. It's so they each have those different unique abilities. Um, and if you're new, don't be afraid. Ask. That's what I did. That's how I found out where to go, how to do it. Thanks, Ken.
You're welcome.
Shelley has a great follow up question. I love this question. Shelley from Lethbridge. Oh, I got it wrong. Is it Lethbridge or Medicine Hat? Shelley from Southern Alberta says, how do you get a spiritual upgrade?"
Okay, so what I do, all my certification workshops, I do spiritual upgrades as standard practice. I'm also going to be doing what's called the Ascension Group Healing. It's the second Wednesday of every month from 7 to 8 p.m. Mountain Time, and every single one of those group healings is also going to include spiritual upgrades, activations, attunements, enhancements, all that stuff. So what the key is, Shelley, is you need to have somebody who knows how to channel. And the reason why is because without channeling, the person's just shooting in the dark. They don't really know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just going to give you this or give you that, but they don't really know what that person needs. So let me give you an example. In my after people complete my formal certification training, then they can apply for my 6 month strategic channeling program, where we meet once a month every month over a 6 month period. So it's a 6 month strategic channeling program, and in those one-on-one sessions over that 6 months, every single time when I meet with my student, I check: do you need a spiritual upgrade? And if so, which kind of spiritual upgrade do you need? And sometimes they don't. In those 6 months, there's times I'm like, no, you're good. You don't need anything spiritual upgrade wise. You do need some healing and clearing. So we take care of that. I help them, improve their channeling way beyond the certification programs and all that cool stuff. And then the next time we meet, I'm like, oh, now you do need a spiritual upgrade. Okay, so which one is it? And through channeling, I could check. Oh, you need an attunement, which is a symbol that I put in you, and then you get attuned to that symbol. But you need to know how to do it properly. You need to, like, what I found is that it's not just putting a symbol in somebody. So I work with a symbols archangel. There's a symbols archangel that I work with him, and he lets me know, and their guides let me know which symbol they need. So I put that symbol into them. And then there's a lot more to it than just putting the symbol into them. The next step is, after that, you need to actually connect it to their different aspects, like their soul, their timeline, their other aspects. And then you need to do an Akashic Records update to update the fact that it has this new infrastructure in place. And then the last step is actually brightening it up and turning it on. So I've seen some people where they've been attuned and the symbol's there, but it's dormant. It's like a dull or grayed out, and it's not actually, it hasn't been turned on. Like, think of it like a dimmer switch. You want to turn
Yeah.
that sucker like on full blast and get that thing maximized so it's really bright and really strong, so that you're now attuned to those new energies. And that's what an
That's so
attunement
cool.
is. Yeah, and this is done very intentionally when a person needs it, and sometimes it's, or even 3 attunements in that one session. And then next time we meet, maybe it's none. Next time we meet after that, maybe it's one. Next time we meet after that, maybe it's two. And so you get attunements along the way as you're getting your healing and clearing, and you do both. And then that's when the person really starts to excel. And not just attunements, then there's activations, which is something completely different, which is where you activate the person. And activations can be a whole different kinds of variety of activations that you can get. There's other enhancements. And then there's also different upgrades on specific components of the person. So, for example, one of the many examples is there's this component of everybody. It's called the transmitter receiver junction box, and think of it like a hub, or like a hub, or um, a router, and you have all those like connections that go into there. So sometimes that could be damaged or not as healthy as it can be. So that's when healing your transmitter receiver junction box is necessary to heal it, and also the connections as well. But
Yes.
sometimes that hub or the transmitter receiver junction box needs a spiritual upgrade because you're now ready. You've evolved to the point where you need bigger connections, stronger connections, faster connections. So I can tune into you and go, oh, in this case, you're ready for this upgrade on this one component. And then there's other or other aspects of us that are non-physical that may also need spiritual upgrades as well. Like I mentioned, the grounding upgrades that I give my students is one of the many different kinds of upgrades that I give them.
That is so cool. Now, I know you mentioned it real briefly there, but you're going to be doing a lot of this work in your brand new, sparkling.
Woohoo!
What day is it going to be?
Yeah, so it's the second Wednesday of every month, and it's called Ascension Group Healing. It's going to be massive group healings where I do it. You tune in live through Zoom, whatever time zone you're in, just tune in, even if it's the middle of the night or whatever time, doesn't matter. And if you are interested, please private message me so I can put you on my list. And then this way, when I release the event, I can contact you and you can sign up for it. It'll be all automated through my website. You would just go there, channelinginc.com. You can go there and then you can register for it on my website. So yeah, I do. It's going to be a
And how
blast.
much
I'm so
how
excited to
much
do
is
it.
that going to be? That's relatively inexpensive, I believe, if my memory serves me correct when we were talking about it.
Yeah, so it's going to be $42, so $40 plus tax, Canadian, and again, it'll be all automated through my website. So you just go there and you can just pay for it. It'll be just really simple, very straight up, nice and easy to do. I'm really
That is
excited about it
awesome.
because what I've noticed is that people need regular healing on a regular monthly basis. So this way, there's a place they can come. They're going to get really mass healing and really intense healing in a good way, healing and clearing, which are two totally separate things. Plus, like I mentioned earlier, you will also be getting your spiritual upgrades every single month, and I'll be
So,
doing that.
will every month there'll be a different theme, quotation marks, for that healing, or will it just be general?
Yeah, it's going to be right now. It's going to be whatever the group needs, and that's where
Yeah,
channeling comes in. That's why it's so powerful because I'm going to be like, oh, this group, you need this today, so we're going to do this, and things will be coming in live, and I'll be like doing all the crazy cool
that's
healing and
cool.
the spiritual upgrades, and then next time, oh, you need something totally different this next month, and then channeling it all live, and yeah,
I
yeah,
love it.
and
That should be fun.
I've been doing this for years. I've been doing it, so it's time to like make a formal event around it. And I love the name Ascension Group Healing because who doesn't want
Nice.
ascension? Like, come get your
Yeah,
ascension on, and let's get your
that's
ascension
awesome.
going.
So, Mr. Wibstad, Graham Wibstad from beautiful
Minnesota.
Wyona, Minnesota. I think he's in Wyona now. He keeps moving. Depends if he's in school or if he's at home, and now he's thinking about going to a different school. Anyways, he has a question. What guidance do you have around healing emotional eating slash overeating? It's something I've made progress on, but I still have some overeating tendencies.
Yes. Okay, so anyone watching this right now live, please write in the comments who you are, where you're from, say hi, and if you have any questions, please write in the comments, just as Graham did, about like or any questions you have, and then I can answer them. So, to Graham's question is. With addictions like overeating or any other addictions, oftentimes it's rooted in deeper causes. For again, with channeling, I can be able to identify the specific root causes, and oftentimes it's multifaceted. So there could be a number of things that could be happening. Is sometimes in the ideal world, we would have all our aspects working together in unison in a healthy way. Let me give you an example. Let's say you have one of your organs isn't really functioning very well, and it affects the rest of your system. So then you're like, oh, but that one organ can throw the rest of your organs or systems out of whack, and then you feel sluggish or unhealthy for whatever it might be. So the same similar concept also applies to your spiritual aspects, your non-physical aspects. So with channeling, I've been able to identify, close to 50 to 100 different like 50 to 80 different non-physical aspects that make us up as a human. And when you get very precise with which component of your non-physical aspects, what they do, how they function, then what you can do is with precision, you could go in there and heal that specific aspect so that it helps the other aspects cooperate and work together in unison in a healthy way, and they're all working together. So that's one of the things that I can do with people who have addictions, is help to check and identify which of the specific aspects are not playing nice or not as healthy as they can be, to help do healing on that aspect so it can work together with the rest of the body and your overall goal of optimal health in this topic. So that's one of the things it could be. Another thing it could be, and I really struggled with this one, is from past lives. So I had past lives where I had like major famine, where I like, and a few other ones where I died of starvation, just really like scary stuff. And that was carried over into this present lifetime. So then I can do past life healing to heal those so it's not affecting you as much in this lifetime. Another thing that it could be is ancestral healing. So your ancestors, so that's passed down through your DNA. So if your parents, grandparents, great great grandparents have suffered or struggled with, these different disorders, that could be passed down through the DNA. And then we can do DNA healing, we can do ancestral healing, and there's a whole bunch of healing around that. And then there's also childhood trauma and childhood healing that can be done. And we all have stuff. No, I tell people it's impossible to go from 0 to 18 without having some stuff that has happened throughout those ages. However, now that you're an adult, it's your responsibility to do something about it. No more blaming your past, blaming your childhood, your parents, whoever it might be. It's like, no, now that I'm an adult, let's take responsibility and get healing around it and do what I can to live the rest of my life in a healthier way, including like any kind of addictions or eating disorders or anything else like that.
That's very cool. I can't believe we're already 50 minutes into this, Ken. This goes by so quick. I always think, what are we going to do for an hour? Like, it's just, and it goes by so fast all the time. Um, this one has been jumping off the page. I'm not sure when this came in. I think it's been here for a while. So I'm going to ask it this week because it's literally like coming off my page. What are doppelgangers?
Yeah, so this is a great question. I had one of my former students. She asked me this question actually this week, and it's a great question. I do cover it in my channeling level 3 workshop. So there's something called timelines. Just to clarify, there is some theories out there about doppelgangers that when I check with channeling, I've found that aren't quite accurate. So one of them is that, oh, every one of us has a doppelganger somewhere in the world, somewhere else in the world, and all that. And then I've had people like, they meet me and they're like, oh, I know someone that's exactly like you. You're exactly like them. Like same personality, same this, same that. And you're like their doppelganger or and I'm like checking. I'm like, no, actually I'm not. But I could be, and I'm open to it, which I could be. And I was open to it, but I checked. And so what a let me clarify. Each one of us have our own individual souls, and yes, we're connected, of course, and all that other stuff. We have our own individual souls. So there might be somebody else on the planet that looks like you, talks like you, acts like you, but they're not you. You have your own individual soul. You have free will. You can make a different decision to go on a different trajectory in your life. They can make a different decision to go on a different trajectory in their life because they have free will. So but doppelgangers really do exist. And this has to do with timelines. So let's say you have a whole bunch of timelines that happen, is these doppelgangers actually live in different timelines. So they're actually living right now in different realities. So, and this is a real thing. It's not something that's made up. And I've actually had this experience myself where one time I had a dream, but it wasn't a dream. I actually skipped into a different timeline, and I started like looking through the eyes of my doppelganger in a different timeline where I was living in my hometown where I grew up, and I had made different decisions in my life. I did some criminal activity. I was living a very unfulfilled life. My dad had still died in 2001, but I never properly grieved him. I did have a child with another lady, but we were in a split custody situation where 50% of the time I would get the child 50% of the time. And in that scene that I jumped into that other timeline, I actually Um, I was very unfulfilled, very unhappy. My child was there, but I was kind of not really paying attention to her, and I wasn't really giving her any because I just didn't feel happy with me in my life, and I was kind of going through the motions and just going doing my job, like living a mundane life, and not really doing my passion or anything that I really enjoyed. And I definitely was not into spirituality in that other timeline when I popped into that other doppelganger's timeline. So on a more higher level, complex channeling is I actually do training around this where I teach people how to make sure that they're in their optimal timeline so that they can get the most out of this life that they're in right now and try to like really make the most out of this incarnation in this lifetime. So doppelgangers really do exist. They just exist in different timelines,
Makes
different
total
realities.
sense. That's
Yeah.
so cool. So cool. Christine tuning in from Mexico. I'm jealous, Christine. Every time I see something posted on Facebook, I'm like, she's living in Mexico, dude.
Oh,
Anyways, great questions tonight, she says. Ken, does muscle testing for foods and supplements with my body direct accurate enough?
it can be. The question is like, does muscle testing or using pendulums, is that a good way to check which foods are good and healthy for you? The only issue or problem that I've noticed, because I've used a lot of this over my spiritual awakening in the early days, especially, is that I found that it's easy for me to like influence the pendulum or influence the muscle testing. So yeah, what I do recommend a more
Is
advanced way.
beer good for Kevin? Oh, it's saying yes. It's saying yes.
Yeah, sure. On mass quantities, right? Yeah. No.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So it's easy to influence the answer. Like Kevin just showed us there, very great example. um, there's nothing wrong with it. And I do, it's fine for like beginners that are trying to sort of, get into spirituality and dabbling in it and trying to figure this stuff out. I do recommend though, eventually, letting that stuff, those kind of tools slide. And the reason why is because when you learn to channel, you can get way more accurate information from your guides. And yes, can you influence the answer? Yes, but there are techniques that I developed to help train my students on how not to influence the answer, so they're not influencing it anymore. And then what you can do when you learn how to advance at higher levels, instead of just getting like, is this food good for me? Yes or no. Should I eat this? Yes or no. Should I consume this? Yes or no. Rather than just kind of yes or no answers through muscle testing or through pendulums and stuff like that, you can ask your guide open-ended questions like, which foods would be the healthiest for me at this time, and in what quantities is it best what quantities are the best for me to take and consume. And you'd be surprised, you can get way more detailed information, and they might give you answers to things you never even thought of. Like they might be like, oh, go to the health food store and take selenium or something like that. And you're like, what, really? Oh, I never even thought of selenium. But you can't get that with the pendulum or with muscle testing. So
Yes.
they, and then also there's like the quantity and the what's it called, the quality, like which brand is the best. So what I would do, where I want to get my students in, is, let's say for example, before, when you go to the grocery store, you just go down the different aisles, put stuff in your cart, and then continue on. What I do is I used to spend, back in the old days with muscle testing, I would spend like an hour in one aisle just trying to pick out the right cereal for me to eat or whatever, the right can of soup or whatever. And I'd be like, muscle testing right there in the aisle, and it'd take me forever to make a decision. And then I developed this technique called fast channeling, which is what I teach my students to do it quick, fast, and all that. So now I just go down the aisle at the grocery store and I go, okay, which one of these soups is good for me? Oh, this one, okay, put it in my cart. And I can literally, you could take off all the labels of all the cans and have like no labels at all. And I could psychically tune into which one would be the best for me. I'd bring it home, put it in my cart. Same thing with the cereals. I don't care about the fancy packaging and all the, the
Doesn't
list.
matter.
I can tune in beyond all that, and I can go, okay, is this healthy for me to consume? And if it is, good, I'll purchase it. If it's not, I stay away from it. And just whip down the aisles, go this one, Kate, this one, Kate, this one, Kate, and then next aisle, this one, Kate, this one, Kate, this one, Kate. So it's a really cool way to do it. And it's much quicker and more efficient than muscle testing and pendulums. And that's just health. We can, with relationships, for example, it's really hard to get precise information with muscle testing or pendulums or even oracle cards to do with relationships. But when you learn how to channel directly with your guides, they can say, oh, Ken, why don't you try being more compassionate and loving for this person? And how about getting them a gift because, to show your appreciation for them? Oh, well, what kind of gift? Oh, well, this, like a bouquet of flowers or whatever it might be. I don't know.
I'm sure your guides are saying you need to buy Kevin a gift. I'm sure that's what that whole thing just was.
Totally.
And you
Yeah.
got to be nicer. And you got to be nicer to him.
Yeah. I don't know about that one. That one you influenced the answer on.
Okay, we only have a few minutes left. Everybody knows what a pendulum is. Most
Yeah.
people do. Muscle testing. Most people we talk about these things like everybody knows what muscle testing is. What is muscle testing, Ken?
Yeah. So what muscle testing is where you can use any muscle in your body, like literally. I've taken kinesiology training and touch for health, different kinds of like actual formal training on it, not just wait like I don't know, push down on your arm, but actual real formal training. And you can literally use any muscle. You can use your leg muscle. You can use my instructor used to teach me. We joke around. You can even use the muscle on your nose to test something. I'm like, what? Really? But it's true. You can like literally any kind of muscle on your body. And basically, if you test strong, that means it's good. If you test weak, that means it's a no. Again, the problem with muscle testing is what I've noticed is again with channeling, I could check and go, okay, where are the answers really coming from? And the answers that when you do muscle testing are coming from your soul and another aspect of you called your I am being. And your I am being is kind of like the overseer of all your other physical or non-physical aspects. And sometimes though, as your soul could be unhealthy or your I am being could be unhealthy. So you're not getting necessarily accurate information always from muscle testing. And sometimes it could stop working or not give you like, you could be influencing the answer. You can use muscle testing with your fingers, or there's different ways I've seen people do it, like this, where they're
Yeah, I've
spreading
seen
their
that
fingers.
one. Yeah.
Lots of different ways that they do it, but you can be influencing the answer a lot easier because not necessarily is your soul as healthy as it can be, or your I am being, or if you're using muscle testing on other people or a practitioner is using it on you, the practitioner themselves, those aspects might not be as healthy as it can be, or your aspects might not be. So they could be getting skewed answers. But with channeling, you could bypass all that and just go directly to your spirit guides and get answers directly from them.
And it's way easier once you learn how to do it.
And it's funner
Which
and
leads me
quicker.
to just we finishing up here. Where can people sign up for your courses?
Yeah, please visit my website, channelinginc.com. Also, if you have any questions, like about just like anything, private message me. I do make myself available to my students. Send me a private message, but go to channelinginc.com first. Go there. You can also book a one-on-one session with me, and one-on-one sessions are life transformative. Like one session will completely change your life. I do all sorts of healing, clearing, plus I train you on how to channel because my whole goal is to empower my students to be able to do this without me. And that's what I want. I want to empower them. And my mission, my mission of my company is to make this world a better place by teaching people how to channel. Because imagine how much better the world would be if everybody learned how to channel and actually channeled their spirit guides and followed their guidance even just a little bit, how much better the world would be. So this is my mission statement, channelinginc.com. And please message me or contact me or register for one of my workshops. That'd be great.
That's awesome. Awesome. Great show again this week, Ken, or this month.
Thank you.
That was amazing. Our next show will be May the 25th, the 4th, sorry, May the 24th, the 4th Wednesday of every month.
That's right.
If you want to reach me, go to Cavelli Channeling on Facebook. That's where I can be found. Ken can be found at Ken Lewicki, channelinginc.com. Spirituality is meant to be funny is a great Facebook page for memes, just for hanging out.
Yeah.
And keeping in touch. I think it's important that as the spiritual community, we need to stay in touch. It's important
Yeah.
to stay in touch. Anyways, till next month, take care, everybody.
Have a great day, everyone. See you.